So today's going to be a little bit different. I decided that this would be much better in the garden because the garden acts for a beautiful analogy for relationships and for a support system. When I say that, I mean that when I prepare my garden, I have to be aware of a few things. I have to be very intentional. Number one, what do I want to be planting? Number two, where am I going to plant them? Because the tomato doesn't like the kale because they compete for resources, but the basil and the tomatoes, they work well together. And number three is the medium, aka the soil that I'm going to be planting everything in. That's going to be really the resource and the lifeline for everything to grow and prosper and evolve and create that delicious tomato at the end of the season. And the last piece, the medium, right, the soil, is really, I think, the most relatable to our relationships because it's our support system that gives us a foundation to evolve and grow in, right? And then we get to pick the things that we want to create in our lives to plant in that support system, aka into the soil. And the reason that I wanted to really bring this up is because when we're healing through anxiety, it's really important that we have a specific type of soil, right? And I was intentional here, right? I had to choose a specific type of compost, a specific type of manure, either chicken or cow manure. And number three, I had to choose like just a base soil to mix everything together with. And this created a specific type of nutrient content for these plants to thrive in. And it's very similar again with healing anxiety because in healing anxiety, the relationships that we have are going to be very influential in potentially different ways. On one side, we could have relationships and people who have never experienced anxiety before, who don't have any idea of what it feels like or have any experience with it. And so therefore, they don't know the tools or the journey that's involved to get to the other side. And so it's very difficult for them to have the capacity to hold space for you and to support you in your journey. Whereas on the other side, you have a really nutrient-dense type of people who have experienced anxiety, who have the tools, who have made it to the other side, and really can really hold that space for you, can really hold that structure for you to go on this metamorphosis through the anxiety into the other side. And that's really, really important. That's like, if you want to end the video here, you could, because that's the most important piece. But when I say this, I can go even a little bit further because when I was experiencing anxiety my first time around in adulthood, I didn't have any of the tools, I didn't have any of the understanding, and for that reason, I went to the most available support system that I had, right? My parents. And my parents are extremely supportive. They support the goals that I have, the ambitions that I have. They will talk to me on the phone at any hour of the night if I'm going through something. They'll even come pick me up if I'm 4 hours away stranded because my car broke down. However, when I was going through anxiety at this point in time, back in 2014, they didn't have the same experiences that I had with anxiety, and therefore they could provide me a nurturing environment and support in that way, but they couldn't help me really get to the other side because they haven't done that, right? And in my other video about conditioning, which I'll put somewhere up here, we learned that a lot of what we experience, the way that we respond to stress and emotional regulation, comes from our early childhood years with our parent figures. We learn from them. And so although they supported me in a very important way, they weren't able to really help me get to the far side of anxiety, to really do some of that development that somebody who has experienced it could. And that's why introducing professionals or friends or family who have gotten to the other side of what we're trying to do is extremely, extremely important. And I really love the quote of show me the 5 friends that you spend the most time with, and I will show you your future. I think that's how it goes, by like Jim Rohn or something. And it's extremely true. In 2018, I went through another experience with anxiety. A little bit different, but the same type of debilitating, like intrusive OCD type thoughts. And in that 4 years between 2014 and 2018, I really told myself that one of my main goals over these next 4 years is to create a support system and a community of people who are in self-development, people who understand how important mindset is, people who meditate, so that I can start to have that community. And in 2018, I was able to eat the fruits of that work, of that labor to create that community. And I had a few friends that I met through a meditation class. One of them in particular, his name was Tucker. And when I was going through the thick of my anxiety in 2018, Tucker was really able to support me in a way that I haven't ever had anybody help support me that way. And he was able to help me hold the vision that things were going to get better, and that this was going to be an opportunity for me to come out more passionate, come out more integrated in myself on the other side. And that's just a small example of how important our community is, right? And the support system is, because on one side, they might be able to provide support, but not in a way that is conducive to our actual growth, aka my parents. And that can hold us kind of in this negative feedback loop, just kind of roaming around. Whereas on the other side, Tucker was really able to help me see through the fog to what my vision was, how I had to get there. And he even gave me tools, meditated with me, it helped me create my mindset to get to that other side. And it's if you can't tell by the way that I'm speaking about this, it was so important to my development. And even today, when I'm going through things, I call up the people who are in the same boat with me, on the same journey of coming back to the truest version of ourselves and sharpening those tools and those practices that help us get there. And just like this garden takes time to go from planting a seed to actually having a tomato, so does creating a community. And it can be overwhelming. But some of the ways that I was able to get there was through going to yoga classes, through working out with group fitness classes, through doing meditation courses, so that I was being surrounded by people who were interested in evolving, in learning, in growing, and so that I could start to have conversations with them that I wasn't able to have with people in my life before this had happened. And slowly but surely, you start to create these relationships and this community around you that has entirely shifted my life, and I am extremely, extremely grateful for them. And not to mention, one of the people that we can add into our lives, into this support system, is professionals. So including a therapist or a coach, somebody who has it as their profession to help people get to this place. And I can include my article down here on my process for actually how I went about getting a therapist that really worked for me, instead of just getting any old therapist, right? Again, we want to be intentional with what we're bringing into our lives, so that we can really start to meet that vision of Marcello that isn't totally fogged out by anxiety, right? He's clear, he's more present in his relationships, more present in his work, and that's where we want to get to. And I'm still developing it to this day, but I hope that this was helpful. And if it was helpful, please, please, please share it with somebody else who you think can benefit. And feel free to like it or subscribe it, so that we can get this message out to more people, and that each of us can start to shed the layers of ourselves that no longer fit. And then it's a domino effect of healing, and more people start to go through this collective evolution. And then there's just this big grand metamorphosis of people who are happier, or people who are happier, people who are clearer, and people who are kinder and friendlier. And that, my friend, makes the world go round. And I know that we can all use a little bit more kindness and happiness in our lives right now. Much love to you. We are learning, we are growing, and we are evolving together. If you liked this setting, please let me know. I'm going to try and be a little bit more creative as I go forward.